Hi there. Thanks for attending this webinar. My name is Randy McDonald. I'm the president of Heresy Email Services. And today's webinar topic is how effective is targeted mass email marketing? So the topics that we're going to be getting into are what spam is and isn't, why opt-in permission-based lists are unnecessary, why targeted email lists are far more effective than opt-in permission-based email lists, and what you can expect from targeted mass email campaign. Okay, so what spam is and isn't. Spam is a relative word. What spam is any generic solicitation sent to a mass, undifferentiated B2C audience, emailed frequently and ignoring most or all laws governing email. So this is, your typical, mass commercial email that you've seen in your inbox for years that's advertising, any sort of generic stuff, anything that sort of is, for anyone, and that's it. Spam isn't any specific solicitation intended for a mass, targeted B2B or B2C audience, emailed occasionally, and abiding by all laws governing email. So we're talking about a big distinction where we're talking about targeted mass email is a very different animal, where it's for a specific audience. It's a list of prospects that are specifically for your business, not just anyone, and you are emailing them in a much better fashion. You're doing it only occasionally, once every, 1 to 3 weeks is the norm, and you're abiding by this Can Spam Act, which is not restrictive really, but more good business practices, and so forth. If you want to know more about Can Spam, take a look at the other webinar that I have, which is about the legality of mass commercial email, which is another free webinar as well. Why opt-in permission-based email lists are unnecessary? Now, this goes sort of at a concept level, but you need to understand, permission-based email is merely the opposite of and a reaction to spam. I believe one extreme will always beget the other extreme. So in other words, you have one extreme and it will bring about as a reaction the other extreme. This is what's happened here. So the problem is always been spam email. And so what that essentially has been is total power on the sender's part to send email. So to elaborate, it's complete freedom for everyone to email anyone with any message for as long as they want and as often as they want, which has been what has been happening with mass commercial email to date pretty well. Unsolicited mass email has been done this, and so the reaction in the industry has been as a way of countering this has been the complete opposite, where they've done simply what opt-in email is been the response. An opt-in email is total power on the recipient's part to receive email. So it's complete opposite. So no freedom for anyone to email anyone with any message without their permission first. Recipient can revoke permission for anyone to send emails whenever they want. Marketer can never contact the recipient again under any circumstances. So really what's happened is that we've kind of thrown the baby out with the bathwater in our reaction, at least the common held reaction to spam email, in that we've decided to go for opt-in as a response, strictly opt-in, no questions asked, and all that really represents is just what I'll get into here, where the opposite of spam email is permission-based email. Permission-based email merely transfers the spam email sender's supreme power to market freely to recipients. So all we've really done is transfer the power from the sender to the receiver. as a mere reaction, not as necessarily a good reaction. It's sort of a knee jerk type thing. It's more of a reaction rather than an intelligent solution. So, the notion of opt-in is really a stupid reaction to spam that has been squandering emails marketing amazing potential for years. And you'll see that more and more as we go along in this webinar. So my experience in emailing in the real estate business is that targeted email is seldom seen by targeted recipients as spam. Um, Now, this is a very little known fact, but it's absolutely key. 100% key. You can send to any email list you want if you get very few spam complaints from your recipients. Um, Even if you're using an email service provider such as, Constant Contact, there's many out there. Um, they will allow you to get 1 to 3 spam complaints per 1,000 to 5,000 emails sent, depending on the provider. Um, they recognize that um, even people with opt-in lists get spam complaints because a lot of people will take the easy route in unsubscribing even if they're on a list by clicking the mark as spam button and not knowing that that is actually harming the whatever source that they've signed up for to receive their mailings. So so these email service providers have recognized that this happens, and they allow it as long as you're within that tolerance, within that range of 1 to 3 spam complaints per 1,000 to 5,000. They're okay with it. A different story is where if you're dealing with your internet or the email service provider, they typically have zero tolerance for spam complaints. Any spam complaints will violate your terms of service agreement and can result in fines or terminations of service. Um, Normally, in your terms of service that you've agreed when you join your email or internet provider is that you will not send commercial email. Um, and if you do, there's often very harsh fines, um, you know, or resulting in you getting your internet access or your email account revoked. Um, so it's something to very much consider um, if you're going to be doing mass email campaigns. So why targeted email lists are far more effective than opt-in permission-based email lists. Firstly, targeted lists are far more cost-effective. Opt-in email lists are that you can only build them using other forms of marketing, really. Um, so people have to basically find you or your website or um, you know and through other forms of marketing, whatever that might be, and have to basically come to you and give you explicit consent. Whether it's a form on your website, that sort of thing, to have a truly a double opt-in list, which is what's required by the big email service providers, any email service provider really, to be able to do email marketing through them. So basically, you're spending advertising dollars in at least one other type of advertising other than email to get an opt-in list. So it could be search engine optimization. It could be print advertising. It could be trade shows. Any number of things that are building your list of prospects that are sort of opting in and saying yes. And even then, if you have a trade show, for instance, you're at a trade show, you have a booth, and you have people dropping off their business cards in a fishbowl or whatever for a draw or whatever. Even then, that's not considered by these email service providers as explicit consent. A lot of these people are just dropping off their business cards maybe because they'll win something. So it's, even to these email providers, even if you take all these business cards and put them into their database, that's not explicit consent from them to, for you to add them to your database. So, you know, it's really, really the only true way that you can get these people to um, opt in and give you permission to email them is if you've got some sort of offer or something on your website that's enticing them to join. All these other ways of getting contacts is considered by these providers, sort of null and void unless you have their explicit consent. So, targeted lists can almost always be rented or bought for much less expense than building your own opt-in lists. I'll give you an example. My U.S. Realtor database has about 400,000 real, contacts in it that are actually still in the business, and they haven't left. So you can imagine how much that would cost to build, even a quarter of that in terms of advertising. Um, you know, to get 100,000 people to opt in would take an enormous amount of money in terms of uh, driving people to your website and however you would get them to opt in. So whereas you can buy or rent one of these lists for far less money than you would than trying to do it on your own. Um, Another thing is that opt-in lists can be bought or rented from companies who offer products and services competitive to yours. I'll give you an example. I have a client that is starting up a website that's specifically for um, uh, realtors and buyers that are interested in waterfront properties. So that's the whole thing, is waterfront properties. So they actually built their own list of realtors that have listings with waterfront properties. So the whole thing is all about waterfront properties. And so one of the lists that I've acquired, an opt-in list, is by a company. It's called Yacht Magazine. They have a print publication. It's called Yacht Magazine, and it's basically sort of all about high-end boats. And I basically told these guys at the waterfront website, hey, these would be really good prospects for you, and they agreed. And so we're going to be marketing to them in the near future. And this list is tremendous. It's there's about 110,000, I believe, people that have opted in to Yacht Magazine's website. And so it's a really good fit, because these are all people that have boats, and so they probably have waterfront property or are interested in it to some extent. So this is a great fit for my client. So this is just one of these lists that I've just been able to source for them, and it'd be very valuable to them. And so in other words, even with all these privacy policies out there, in terms of data and so forth, money really talks in reality. They'll say, we'll never divulge your information, blah blah blah. But if you go to a company that has a list of contacts that you want, it's often up for sale in reality if you talk to them. And this is just one of many examples that I could give you. So bottom line is that you can either build your list, through, really building your list doesn't make sense in terms of if you can just sort of go out and rent it or buy it. In terms of targeted prospects, it's far more cost effective to do it that way. Um, this idea of pay for positioning concept, it's been used with search engines for years. Um, I liken it to using Google Adwords. Um, you know, you can, rather than wait for your website to, by using search engine companies to, help you with your positioning in Google and help you get to the normal, you know, top 10 of Google search results, um, you can simply kind of, fast track things and go Google directly and pay them to get your positioning, in Google search results through Google Adwords. It's known as a pay per click type thing where you basically tell Google, okay, I'm willing to pay such and such dollars per click, for any people that you can drive to my website, and the more you're willing to pay per click, the higher positioning and you're going to get in Google, and the more websites you're going to be put on. Many people have set up, sections on their website, for Google Ads, and they get a percentage. They get a piece of the action every time someone clicks on an ad, and it's a tremendous way of, it's wins for everyone, because Google gets the ad revenue. They've put an ad in the right place at the right time. If someone is searching in Google, for whatever, the ad will be, people can specify what keywords they want to be found under, and it'll be right at the top of those search results. And same thing with the websites. They know what, websites, what ads to put with what websites that will be, similar interests, so that people are going to be clicking those as well. And so really, the idea is that going with Google AdWords and buying your way to the top is the same idea as buying an email list or renting an email list, and just fast tracking your advertising. Incredibly, in 2008, Google's total advertising revenues were $21 billion. I mean, that is tremendous if you think about it. And probably, they're not even really offering anything in terms of like a tangible product. Their costs must be like minuscule. You think about these companies who, they have huge revenues, but a lot of that was, based on expenses in terms of cost of production and so forth. I mean, really, all Google is a bunch of computers, just a bunch of servers out there, that are just doing their thing. So you can imagine that this company is enormously profitable. $21 billion in 1 year. So my reason for telling you this is just to illustrate that, that matching up, buyer with seller in an intelligent way is just basically a license to print money, and that's what targeted email will do for you, whether you buy a list or rent a list, of suitable prospects. So another thing is that, you you know is that target lists are far more time effective than opt-in lists. Opt-in lists take far too long to build. You must wait for prospects to find you through other forms of marketing you use, such as search engine optimization. And once they find you, your website, or whatever, all you can do is sort of hope that they opt in. Um, you know, there's no way of getting contact info of people who visit your website and leave without joining your mailing list. I mean, all you can know is the IP address of someone that's visited your website. And based on that, you can determine where they are geographically, but you can't. You can go to their their internet provider, and ask for their contact info, and they're not going to give it to you. It's the same reason why, file sharing and just basically music, piracy, and all that has been going on, just basically unabated for years, because the internet providers are not going to give up their clients. If they do, there's going to be droves of people that are going to be leaving. So, and this is even a lesser thing. I mean, yeah, in the case of file sharing, they might give up names of people that are, um, that are doing illegal things, and causing, using a lot of their bandwidth and so forth. But they're not just going to give up names of people that are just surfing websites and so forth. So really, it's you know trying to get prospects through your website is really kind of it's what I call pull marketing. It's passive marketing. You know, people find you, they see your website, you know, and whereas campaigns to targeted lists of huge numbers of qualified prospects, can be almost in all cases can be rented or bought and deployed immediately. And I call this push marketing, where it's an active form of marketing. Opt-in email lists are virtually identical to targeted lists in reality. A targeted email list is only sent targeted solicitations, in other words, ads for products or services likely be interested in, because of who these prospects are, professionally or personally. Whether it be because of their job title, their industry, their personal interests, etc. Like the mainstay of my business is working with companies that want to provide products or services for real estate agents. When these things are sent to these agents, these solicitations, we're really talking their language. We're offering them something that's very much in tune with what they do, their day to day business, and so they're usually very receptive to it. Far more than just people that are receiving mass sort of spam type email. And in reality, the only difference between targeted email and opt-in is brand recognition. So in other words, if someone has opted in and found you, then at least they know who you are, and you know but whereas if you email someone unsolicited, they're not going to know you right off the bat. But over time, they're going to they'll see your subject line, they'll see your name of your company. Even if they don't open the email, they'll still you still get that brand recognition over time, about who you are and what you offer. And so that's really the only difference between an opt-in list and a targeted list. But your company may already have achieved widespread brand recognition with your target markets through the other types of advertising you've done. So basically, an opt-in email list is prospects found through passive, in other words, pull marketing, where you've tried to entice people, pull people towards you. um, and it's just like a yellow pages type thing, where it's passive, where you put your ad out there, and you hope you get emails or your phone rings. Whereas with targeted email, it's prospects found through active push marketing. This is more aggressive marketing, more proactive marketing, where you're going out and you're finding prospects, and and developing business that way. So this is what you can expect from targeted mass email campaigns. Now, the one of the big unknowns is how many people are actually seeing your email in their inbox, assuming that the um, email is actually delivered to the inbox. That's a big issue unto itself. I deal with this in the webinar that I have on how to beat anti-spam technology and read the inbox. I have another webinar on that, which is a whole area of expertise unto itself. But assuming that the email does get to the inbox, it's really unknown, how many, at least in I know with real estate agents, how many, a lot of them are really, not necessarily using their email. That, you have all these sort of old school people that have been, sort of relied on the, referrals and kind of the tried and true ways, and are kind of down on the whole idea of email. But I think eventually most of these people will, look at their email accounts at least regularly. If not daily, they'll at least look at them every couple of days. I mean, anyone that's out there in the real estate business right now that has an email account, or doesn't, or isn't looking at it frequently, is really just, you know, in the Stone Age, and is on their way out of the business anyway. So what I'm trying to say here is that when you send an email to real estate agents, you can count on it. I would say at least 80% of them are going to be looking at your email. At least, maybe not, not opening it necessarily, but at least they're going to see who you are and what you offer. Your company name and your subject line. You at least have a sense of that. So that's huge. Because as I say, like with the U.S., there's about 400,000 realtors there that are still in the business. So email can provide tremendous brand at least recognition just for that. Now to go take things further, my experience with email is that the open rate, in other words, people that are actually clicking the email and opening it, is around about anywhere from about 5 to 20%. I've seen it as high as 30%, but for the norm, this is roughly so. In other words, if you send out 20,000 emails, you can expect that anywhere from about 1,000 to 4,000 people are viewing your email. And if you think about that, that's really pretty tremendous. And to take things even further, the click-through rate is usually, in my experience, about 0.5 to 2%. Some mass email marketers will tell you that the open rate is should be this, and I say no. Your open rate is, like, some of them will say, if you've got 2-3% open rate, that's great. Well, it's not. It's what it is the reason the open rate is so low for them is because they're sending to a mass audience, and a ton of the emails are not actually being delivered. They're either being blocked or put in the spam folder. So really, if you're truly actually getting your emails through to your recipients, do not accept that sort of response rate. Your response rate, should be in open wise, it should be 5 to 20%, something in that range. It's to send to a list of the whole list of U.S. realtors of 400,000 is not an easy thing. It's a complex process of delivery, simply because and I get into this in the how to beat anti-spam technology webinar, but it's a sophisticated thing. Anti-spam technology is alive and well, and you can't just simply send out emails in a huge quantity like that, like 400,000, and expect them to all get into inboxes. It just doesn't happen. They have a bunch of different things in place to to screen good email, quote, good email from bad email. So in other words, what you can expect in my experience and from my clients is that you get about a 0.5 to 2% click rate. So if you send out 20,000 emails, which is about the number of real estate agents that are in the greater Toronto area, you can expect anywhere from about 100 to 400 recipients will click the link and visit your website. Now, if you have 200,000 emails sent, and you've done it in a way where you're reaching inboxes, just add another zero. It's 1,000 to 4,000 recipients will click the link in your email and visit your website. My all-time record is one of my previous businesses was hosting events for real estate investors here in the Toronto area, and so I built up a database of people that were basically somewhere within, say, like a 2-hour drive of Toronto, and so those were all my prospects. It was geographically locating them, and so I built up a database of about 200,000 people that were in the Toronto area. And so my personal record is emailing that database. I got about 1,000 visitors in one single day, and that was only a 0.5. I mean, we're talking about like a very generalized audience, not anything specific, but so I had sort of the low end in terms of the the number of actual people that were clicking through and visiting. But imagine having 1,000 people visiting your website in one day. Like, you tell me that's not going to bring in sales and bring in awareness of your company. And so if we take this further, where it's more targeted, where if you have a product or service that's specifically for real estate agents, you know for emailing the whole database of, which is roughly at its current time about 500,000 email addresses, even for 0.5% clicks, you're talking about 2,500 website visitors. Take that even further, you know, for 1% click through rate, that's 5,000. 2%, that's 10,000. So imagine having like, you know, 5 or 10,000 people visiting your website in one day. Like, you tell me you're not going to get business from that? I mean, of course you are. So this is what I'm telling you, is how effective email can be. And I think it's obvious what I'm saying. So one of the big things with with the result of the email campaigns is lead generation and prospect funneling. There's very detailed tracking for each email recipient who sent an email through your campaigns, however you do it. So it's known who opens your emails, like on a per person basis. We have the email address of who opens, who clicks the email, and what links they've clicked, the number of times. I mean, like just the information here is crazy. Like, it's almost like Big Brother sort of thing in terms of like what you know about each person who engages your email. Like, it's even provided that what their IP address is, so that you can actually know where they are roughly located, like geographically. But more than that, it's easy to find any recipient's phone number and mailing address. If you're using like a mail merge type database, or through search engines. Like, basically, you can this is something we provide to clients. Is we'll give them a list of all the people that have opened at least twice. And the reason I say at least twice is because some people, they have on their computer, they'll have a thing where it's opening the email just as a preview thing, so it's not truly them voluntarily opening an email. So we want to see at least someone that's opened at least twice, or especially if they've clicked. So so we have that data, we provide it for clients. And so basically, you can we have a list of all these email addresses of people who have opened or clicked, and what they've done, and all that. And it's very easy to find their contact info. For instance, like in Google, like, all you got to do is put their email address into Google. Just type it right in, and 9 times out of 10, you're gonna find like a page that has all their contact info, whether it's one of their listings or their website. So so this makes for great follow up. And so really, email campaigns, yes, they will make your phone ring and bring you prospects sort of contacting you, but it's a tremendous way of arming your sales force with hundreds, even thousands of prospects to follow up with from each email campaign, depending on how many people you email. So that's definitely something to keep in mind if you're looking for a way to give your salespeople prospects that are useful to follow up with. This is the way to go, for sure. So that's the end of the webinar. Thanks for listening. My name is Randy McDonald. If you have any questions or comments, please get in touch with me. My contact info is there. Thanks for attending, and have a great day.